Good afternoon. We are super excited to be here live with you again with rock star and legend Tim Steinruck. This is my tongue is tied. This is Tom Lancaster and I'm Curtis Friesen. And we are going to be talking about the solstice today with Tim and the dark nature of the universe and Tim's mischievous relationship to it. And as it's solstice, as it's the darkest day of the year, as we have just a powerhouse of an individual in the room with us today, Tim, we're going to open the floor for you to lead this one of the last podcasts that we'll do this year in an opening prayer. You are on mute.
How's that?
That's so much better. I know that your invocation will have so much power on its own, but it's great to invite everyone else to tune in. So we're great to have you live and audible.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you, gentlemen, for inviting me to this podcast. First of all, that's a great honor, and that it happens on this winter solstice day is a double honor. And this is not just your regular solstice either. You know, this is a really, really special one. For a number of different reasons. But what I'd like to do, and thank you for giving me the opportunity, is I'd like to put a prayer out on our conversation today. Okay? So what I would invite you and your listeners and your watchers, your followers to do is just to close your eyes for a moment and just become still. And then just intentionally deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And we're going to continue that for just a couple of minutes with the intention of breathing in all of the gifts that are around us right now energetically, and breathing out all of the things that no longer serve us from this year and back into our whole history. So let's just do that for a moment. In with the gifts and letting go of what does not serve us anymore. Nice and slow and deep in through the nose, out through the mouth. Feeling calm, centered, knowing that we are in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing in a deep and powerful way. O Great Spirit, Master of all, guide our thoughts, guide our words, so that we may be powerful instruments of your love. This solstice, we know, is officially the end of an era of the old and the dawning of a new. This opportunity for creation of this new world that we want is the incredible gift. Guide us, protect us, and please bring healing to all those that are suffering. We give all living beings and this living planet to you for protection and blessing. And so it is. And so it is.
Aho.
Thank you, Tim. A
Hmm.
beautiful, beautiful way to begin this new adventure that we are embarking on with the age of Aquarius.
Yeah.
The day's starting to get longer. And that was such a joy to be a part of such a powerful introduction. Definitely the most powerful opening to any of these podcasts that we've done. And we are just really grateful to have you here.
Thank you. And you know what? I just want to thank you for that. And I received that in, and I give it to the place where it all came from, because heaven and earth and I are one. I'm just the instrument,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm so happy to be the instrument.
And what a beautiful instrument you are, sir.
So let's just give people watching a little bit of context.
Sure.
Who is this man with this huge beard who is an instrument of spirit's love?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about Tim and what you want to get out of this conversation.
Sure. I guess the place that I would go to right away is the child that is still within me. Okay, that child that I still live from every day, that has that joy, for living, for this human experience. Now, as a 56-year-old man, I can go back exactly to that time when I was 13 years old. Very religious family, living in northern British Columbia on a farm. First generation Canadian, oldest of the family. And we had an amazing farm up there, a grain farm. And, you know, hard work was, and church, hard work and church and music, those were the things in my life. And then a disruption came in. And that disruption was a band called Kiss, an album called Destroyer. And it destroyed. And I fell in love with rock and roll. And I fell in love with Kiss. And I fell in love with guitars and amplifiers. And I will never forget the day I was no longer allowed to play the amp and the guitar in the house or in the church. My dad was the organist, so I got to play all the different instruments, drums and bass and all of those things. I got to play them along with him while he was playing the hymns in church, in this country church. And our family performed. We were kind of like, I had two younger sisters, and we were kind of like the Von Trapps. Was really what we were, right? And every Sunday, we would do a show, and we would rehearse through the week. I mean, I didn't really realize that until I looked at it a few years ago. I went, "Holy shit! I've been in like show business my whole life." Because I thought I didn't start my musical career until I was like 18 or 19 years old. But really, it started way back then, as a little kid. But I got this electric guitar, and I got this dark energy of Kiss. this dark, glamorous energy. And I was attracted to it. It caused some problems in my life. It caused some problems with my relationship with my parents, with my community, with everybody. One day I wasn't allowed to play the guitar and the amp in the house anymore, so I ran 300 feet of extension cord from the chicken and pig barn where there was power out to one of these granaries, these buildings, these steel buildings that hold grain, and there was some of them that were empty. Set up the amp in there, plugged in my guitar. When I hit that first chord, and the whole building just went whoa, and I could see the energy. I could see it. Obviously, I could feel it. It was my purpose realized. It was truly my purpose realized. Now, I've gotten lost. There's been many wins, there's been many losses throughout that. But as I sit here today, I am still that same purpose. Some of the wins that I had, I was able to get a multi-million-dollar record deal with Paul Stanley from Kiss, my hero. Manifested, completed, it was there. I'll never forget another moment of realization. Getting picked up from the airport by a limo driver that had the name of the band Unchained on it. Picking us up, getting in the limo, and driving down Sunset Boulevard with my band, with our cassette tape in the player of the limousine, driving down Sunset Boulevard. Dream manifested into reality.
So amazing. We've just been letting you speak, partly because what you're saying is so magical, and partly because we have been given the gift of a garbage truck outside.
Oh, fantastic.
Which is beeping and hollering. What was that experience like of being in that limo, of having your name on the, working with Kiss, like to go from that little boy in the guitar wow to that? What was that like?
A confirmation that when you live your purpose, purpose is manifested into reality. It was achieving the goal. It was the goal achieved. And that is just such a huge heart opening when that happens. But I just want to say, Tom, what was more powerful was when it was all suddenly taken away. And I was in free fall.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Just shock. Free fall. Not knowing where you're going to land. And letting the ego come in and support that loss. I entered a time of, I'd say about 25 years of dark ego battles. you know. So when I look at this, I see this opportunity that turned it into a loss, that turned into even to a greater opportunity, because I got to find a way to release that ego. And that was a very dark time. It was the universe's dark humor imposing itself on me.
So Curtis mentioned that we were going to arrive at the dark humor of the universe, and you have magically brought us there. I don't know about you, Curtis. I don't know about anyone watching, but that story of you brings me so much joy in the realm of the place that we play in adventure, in consciousness, in entrepreneurship. The way you spoke about living your life with purpose, and then purpose being delivered to you, about finding your dream and following it and achieving it, it's really powerful. So thank you for sharing that.
And I was really hoping that you would tell the story about you in the granary.
Mm-hmm.
I love that story, and it leapt to the front of my mind. And in this telling, I have heard more details than you shared in the past. It's been a fuller, richer telling. And to hear that your career as a performer started when you were quite young is just have a richer understanding of who you are. And so thank you for sharing that with us here on the podcast.
It's my pleasure. It's my honor. It's still a place I visit every day.
Mm. And what a richness that brings to your spiritual heritage to have that experience growing up in the church, performing every Sunday, being such an integral part of other people's spiritual experience.
Mm-hmm.
How that trains you to cultivate the awareness of what it means to be part of someone else's journey, and how that prepares you for the work that you're moving into.
Yes.
So beautiful.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for seeing me.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to just elaborate on the dark humor of the universe and how you have this innate mischievous nature that dances with that dark humor, and maybe tie that in to the magnetism of KISS?
Sure. Well, I'll go right to present day, and my daughter's in the other room. She just closed the door so I can say this. But for Christmas, I'm getting us tickets to KISS's live stream, live from Dubai on Christmas Eve. And so when you think about KISS, I mean, these guys are now in their 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And they're about to still do the biggest rock and roll show ever done. And they are still a reflection of my intentions. So I play, I play hard rock metal, and I definitely explore the darker sides of myself. As a matter of fact, there's a song on this new album called "The Darker Side of Me," and so from growing up in the church, I was always encouraged to not see that. KISS stands for Knights in Satan's Service. Heavy metal and hard rock and roll are evil. They are satanic. All of those labels. That made me want to dive into it even more. And it still does. Because the universe is, we know this balance of light and dark, just as we are balanced light and dark. I shouldn't say we're all balanced. We all have light and dark. But when we're so focused on the light, the dark will come and impose itself on us. And when we're too dark and we're down in our deepest, darkest hole, light will come in to balance us. Or, as some choose, they go to the light. So the universe has this dark humor. This dark humor is the balancing force. Okay? I want to share an article about an article that I read yesterday where, in spiritual circles, which we're all involved in the spiritual circles, in the spiritual community, but there's kind of a little bit of a mass exodus that's been taking place over the last few months, since we've all had the time to really sit in our shit with COVID. And people realize, okay, it's not always about love and light. You know what I mean? So when you're focused on love and light all the time, those shadows are still working their way in, and they will get to you eventually. So if you're not maintaining that relationship too, it's going to come and impose itself on you. And I believe that's the dark humor of the universe, where it's like, okay, love and light, love and light, love and light. Love and light, yeah. We'll see. And I think it's funny. I really do. I really do. I think it's funny. And that's what sort of has augmented this path of my rock star reality.
It's a really powerful thing that you've expressed about our shadow and how so many of us, myself included, have and continue to suppress that shadow and not acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as we are suppressing that shadow, we will continue to be, in some regard, judgmental, manipulative, fearful, self-serving. And when we really acknowledge those things, and we can say to the people who are closest to us, the people that we trust the most, and say, look, this is who I am. I'm all of these things that you enjoy, but I'm also these things. And I would like you to accept me for these things, as well as the parts of me that you love.
Yeah.
And that is the toughest part of the journey that I'm going through right now. And when we can accept those parts of ourselves, we can accept the similar but different shadows of the people around us. And we can love each other fully and completely, right? There's a naive kind of love that says, oh, I love you unconditionally. And that means we put the blinders on to, oh yeah, but you don't understand, that person has all of these good qualities. I don't see that, right? And there's a naivety there.
Mm-hmm.
But when we can say, oh yeah, of course that person has this fault and this flaw, and yeah, that hurts sometimes and it's frustrating, but that ties into, and to recognize that those things that trigger us, they tie into our own shit, and just be like, yeah, well, I mean, okay, I feel like this person did this to me, but also a week ago I did this to them, and I'd really like them to overlook my flaws and faults and love me in spite of that. And I'm also willing thereby to extend that love to others.
Beautiful. Yeah. All of the things that the darker things that come to impose themselves on us, create the opportunity for us to clear our own stuff.
Absolutely.
So, with great loss comes great awareness.
Mhm.
With great pain comes great joy. These beautiful balancing forces of the pendulum of life that are always there are just, I love it. It's the most amazing game in the universe.
It really is.
Mhm. Which ties us back into the adventure theme. There's so much of adventure in terms of climbing mountains and sailing across oceans and whatever is struggle, is
Yes, of course.
suffering, and the more you are able to embrace that suffering as part of the journey and as enjoyable in itself, the reward that you get at the end is so much greater. And I feel like that ties into what you just shared, Curtis, about like, here are my faults, here's all of my shit, show me all of your shit, and like, we can be in this together. The reward that comes out of that is so much greater.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm really, really connected to what you guys are creating with this adventurous theme towards life, this adventurous approach to life, this
Mhm.
adventurous embracing of struggle, of adversity, maybe in some ways almost creating it,
Mhm.
because you know that the balancing force that follows that is of a much greater level than if everything is easy and it's just love and light the whole time.
Absolutely. One of the questions that we like to play with, which I would love to invite you into an answer to, is what's the difference between being on an adventure and being lost?
Mm.
I would love to get your perspective in the frame of this conversation that we've been having about rock and roll, about darkness and light, about
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel that if you don't have a connection of some kind to source and you decide to go on an adventure, you will get lost.
hmm,
If you don't have that innate connection to knowing that you are simply an instrument of Spirit's love, and you think that it's just you, Curtis, the person, identity of Curtis, and you're unaware of that inner person, that infinite self, and its connection to the higher source, you will get lost every time. When I got lost in my life after the gains and some of these goals achieved, when I lost that connection, and I got lost because of it. And it wasn't until I reconnected that I started to find my way back. But it takes guides. I honestly believe it takes guides. Now your listeners may not know this, but I've had a couple of very, very powerful sessions with you guys that have impacted me in an extremely positive and clear way. They've cleared away some of the things on this my adventure map that I could get stuck in. Quicksand, bad weather, scary animals. You know? So even in even though I've only had 2 sessions with you. In those 2 sessions, you cleared on my adventure map to this goal achieved, which my next goal achieved I've shared with you, and I won't share it here, but it's a big one. That path is clearer now. So we need that connection with ourselves, and knowing that this connection is connected to something larger, which is Source. But if we really want to be leaders in the world and we really want to do big things, we need guides.
Guidance.
We need guides and guidance.
I would love to take a minute here just to receive what you just said, because that was really powerful for me, and I felt, Curtis, to just receive that, that the work that we've done together has been so powerful for you. So I want to acknowledge you for bringing that into the space, and share back that it has been equally powerful for us to act as your guide for those 2 sessions. So thank you.
And I would echo those sentiments.
Yeah, it's interesting. We talked about this the last time we met. Curtis and I had a personal experience, which has led to, obviously, to this situation, or led back to this situation, because it was I think through Matthew learning that we came back around to this, right?
Federico.
No, it was before that. It was at the Impact Festival is where we first.
Oh, yeah, it was through Matthew at Impact.
Now it's come around in another circle.
Nice.
Where we're studying with one of the same guides together at the same time. And the reason I want to bring this up is because there's a galactic alignment that is happening today between Saturn and Jupiter, the Earth, in an astrological part of the chart where we are 0 degrees Aquarius. We're entering officially the age of Aquarius. There is always a galactic cosmosis that's happening. And we are children of the stars. That's where we're from. And so we're going to be affected by that. We are stardust. So I experienced that with Curtis firsthand. we had a deep experience once at a training where we experienced that, and everything that was there in present reality disappeared, and it was just us in space. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that, because I'm really feeling that power today. And I don't say this from a woo-woo perspective or anything like that. I say this from a knowing that we're all stardust.
So I would love to talk about this new adventure that we're going collectively into the age of Aquarius. What does it mean to you? What does it mean for us? What does it mean for the planet? It's a conversation that not many people are actually aware of. But those of us who are moving in the spiritual circle we're very excited about today. And I'd love for you to share your perspective on what are we shifting into, like where are we going now as we embark into this new adventure.
I think we're seeing a complete and utter dissolving of social, political, religious frameworks that have been in place and financial frameworks that have been in place for a long time. They're all crumbling. We see it. We know it, right? We can ignore it and pretend like it's not happening, or we can embrace it. Because again, these balancing forces, these are of a universal level now that are happening, we're moving away from things like capitalism and competition. We know that we have outgrown them. And I believe that on the other side of that, unless you decide to stay there and suffer, you can suffer there too if you want, and stay in that old mindset that that's your reality, and oh, please don't, I don't want you to affect my reality because it's going to put me in an uncomfortable place. We can embrace that uncomfortableness, and many of us are moving into cooperation, coordination, co-creation. What can we offer? What can we offer to the collective humanity to make this world a new and better place for us to thrive as opposed to survive? We're moving from survival mode, which we've been in for a long, long time, to thrive mode. Mm-hmm. I honestly believe that. Today is that pinnacle doorway portal to thriving.
We always talk about, well, we have this concept that we talk about with our clients and in just in our world in general of infinite pie. And you touched on capitalism and competition. I love that you landed on competition as something that we're letting go of. Mm-hmm. Because the truth is that the pie is infinite. If I have a slice of pie, it doesn't mean you get less pie. Mm. If I have a slice of pie and you have a slice of pie, then everybody gets more pie. Mm-hmm. It's actually how it works. If I'm giving to you and you're giving to me, then the world is enriched, humanity is enriched. Everyone benefits from that. And someone over here might think, well, they're stealing my market share, they're eating my pie. But it's a very small mindset. It's a very limited mindset. And if, as a collective, as a humanity, we can all start to embrace this idea that the more I give, the more I receive. The more I give, the more we receive. What a beautiful place that would be.
It's happening. Mm-hmm. It's happening. I mean, the reality is there are these two worlds happening at the same time. Yeah. It has to always be that way. Balancing forces always need to be at play. Mm-hmm. And I think they always will be. I mean, I don't want to bring politics into it, but you look at the American election, and it is that. Half the country is this, half the country is that. From that comes something new.
I love the wisdom and discernment that you're sharing with us. You've earned a little bit more white in your beard than I have. I have some coming. My stripes are coming. But you've just got one or two more stripes than I do. And the time that you have spent contemplating this and the clarity and the understanding that you're sharing and the hope is really powerful, Tim.
Thank you, Curtis. I just want to clarify that a little bit. It
Mm.
used to be hope.
Mm.
Now it's knowing.
Yeah, there's something really deep about that when we have a knowing of our connection to source, when it becomes personal and intimate and stable. And
Confirmations, I hear them.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and that just brings us deeper into the conversation. As our friend Federico, who we're studying with right now, would say, these distractions, we can allow them to pull us out of the moment, or we can allow them to pull us deeper in. And so we're just dropping a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. And I remember it, there was a moment in the podcast, this conversation that we're having, that really stood out to me. It was at the where you spoke to me directly about when we lose our connection.
Mhm.
And I was in a vulnerability circle with a friend, Danielle Lindblom, who ran this just beautiful vulnerability circle on Zoom. It was just like everyone came out of it so powerfully touched. And one of the questions that she asked is, what's true for you right now? And previously I had just said, it was, what have you accomplished this year? And so I just very, like, in a very factual way, I crushed this and I crushed this and I crushed this and I crushed this. And then I had an opportunity to be real, because I didn't feel like that was very vulnerable. It was just like, I wanted this, I wanted this, I wanted this, I wanted this. And one of the things that I said in that stream of consciousness moment was that we've built a business this last year, the past 2 years, maybe 3, I feel like I have been sleepwalking through my life.
Mhm.
Like I have been in a dream, like I have not been connected. I have had moments of pure joy and bliss. And then I dive, and there's this layer of fog, and then I dive back below this fog. And there's this layer of fog that has been separating me from my connection to source, me from who I am. And I've lost all of my practices. I've shed so much. And in the shedding of that, all that is not serving me, I have also shed all that has served me. And now I'm in this process of re-emerging. And so I don't know if you saw, there was just something in me really powerful. I felt like I had been seen and exposed, and I felt very vulnerable for you to communicate that directly to me. And it's like, yeah, I have lost my connection to source, right? Like I have been following source. Source has been channeling through me. You shared these conversations, and maybe now I'm getting a touch defensive, but I'm making myself feel defensive. And the irony of that is not lost on me. But the truth is, um, the last few years, I have lived most of my life feeling like I'm under a fog and like I have lost my connection to source.
Yes. Connection to self.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, right?
Isn't it amazing that self and source are the same thing?
Yeah.
If it's not flowing through you anymore, you're disconnected.
Yeah.
I really live by that mantra, heaven and earth and I are one. And I visualize that line that goes through every day.
Mm.
That's the breath.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you, Curtis. And I think we need to be singled out, and we need to be seen. And one of the things that I want to bring up is in regards to your coaching that I've had with you, is that it was very direct. There was no hand holding, babysitting, it's all going to be okay. There was an exposure of the truth of my darkness and of my light. And I think as guides, because as you know, I'm a guide myself, I think that is our key role when we're working with leaders, is to, like you say, excavate those parts that we don't want to look at.
Yeah. One of our mentors, Rich Litvin, talks about speaking truth to power, about how the coach's role, the guide's role, is exactly the opposite of holding your hand and saying, "You're doing a great job." Sometimes that's necessary.
Sure.
Most of the time, it's calling you on your bullshit. Finding that place where you have lost that connection to source, where you are wandering, lost,
in the dark,
and to shine a light into that and be like, this doesn't make sense because you're saying this and you're doing this. So what's going on there?
Yeah.
And it takes a special kind of person to receive that as well.
100%.
Most people are not ready.
No, if the level of commitment and surrender is not there, it just doesn't connect. It just doesn't land.
Yeah. And we don't like to be told we're doing things wrong. Right? Not that we live in a world of right and wrong, but it's very easy to interpret it as, you know, we come in going, "Oh, I'm all excited. I'm doing this. I'm doing this," and it's like, well, but that's not you. It's a very confusing thing to deal with. But if you want to actually find that connection to source, to live your purpose, to sign that record deal with KISS, you have to do the work, and you have to acknowledge where you're out of alignment.
Yes. You know, the path of an adventure seems, when we start it, we've got the map in our hand and we see it, and it seems pretty clear. We're going from here to there. But so many opportunities and challenges will come along the way, even that take us off the path. And then we have the opportunity to come back on again, maybe take a little side road, do a little learning in some of those darker spaces, or extremely light spaces too, right? And then come back to the path. And that's why I'm really excited for you guys with this framework that you've laid out that really brings together adventure and purpose into a cohesive package, to work with people who want to be challenged, who want to create out of adversity. Whether that's the weather, or whether that's whatever, this mountain that you have to climb, whatever it is. Yes, I want more of that, because I know when I get to the top, it's going to feel way better than if I just walked straight there. I won't be the same person when I arrive if I just walked the safe path all the way there. If I put some challenges in there, when I arrive, I'm going to be a completely different person. And I'll be able to serve in a much more powerful way as a leader. And I think that's the goal. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Tim, you have an absolutely marvelous way with words. It's quite spellbinding listening to you talk. I love it. It makes perfect sense. And that's the reason why we go on adventures. Yeah. Adventures out into the wild, adventures into building businesses and you know, enriching humanity through our work, and adventures inside, adventures to find source, to find spirit, to find self, to find connection, to find purpose, to find meaning.
Yes.
And it's perfectly possible to go through life without doing any of that stuff. So just turn up and do your job and be miserable and, go to the pub every evening and drink 10 pints and, argue with your spouse and hate your boss. And, it's perfectly possible to live that life.
And have a couple of Mediterranean cruises at the end.
Exactly, right? And then we can be happy for 1 week a year, and then we can get back to our miserable life.
Yeah.
It's perfectly possible, but I do not choose that.
No.
I choose the struggle.
Yes.
And it's a privilege and an honor to struggle with you, Tom. Both like this and like this.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
So this has been an amazing conversation so far, and we're slowly coming towards the end of it. And I'm feeling guided to ask you, where do you want to go for the last 10 minutes?
Sure. I want to go to a place that is going to serve humanity in some way. And I think it's about, the darkest day of the year, the solstice, is about releasing that which no longer serves us. Which for me, again, is this whole idea of competition, of a capitalistic approach to life, to money, to self, to family, to business, even to spirituality. This capitalistic colonialism approach to life. So in the last few minutes of our podcast, which I've really, really enjoyed, I want to talk about what we can create. What's next? What can we as leaders, and I see the three of us and probably many people watching this podcast, as leaders. You wouldn't be here being part of this if you weren't called to leadership in some way. So the question is, what action steps can we take today towards this goal of a world that is cooperative, of a world that is co-creative, that's about what we can offer to each other?
What leaps into my mind as you say that is, I love how everything is so synchronous and everything follows on from one thing to the other. I wrote an article this morning about creating space, about creating a space for something to exist that didn't exist before. And that feels very relevant to this. You pose the question, what are we creating? And I think one of the things that we are creating is space for leaders to show up and connect with themselves. And by extension of that, for anyone who's watching or listening, where can you create space in your life for something to exist that wasn't there previously? That's what I have to offer.
Thank you. Thank you. For me, I can only share from my own experience on how that I feel that can be created. And about 2 years ago, I decided to start a daily discipline. That one thing that I would do every day, regardless of whether I was tired or whether I'd had sleep or not, or whether I was sick, or it didn't matter. That against anything that came to impose itself on me, I would still do that one thing. And for me, that one thing was the realization that raising my body's energy with a little bit of exercise, not a lot. I mean, I've been a fitness instructor. I've done boot camps for 6 years. I have been in so much pain and just pushing the body way past where it should go. What's one thing that I can do every day that I know that I can achieve, but will set me on a firm foundation to be the best leader that I can be? A daily discipline. So January 1st will be 2 years that I am going to do this little app on the phone. It's called the 7-minute workout. And I will do that every day. Full body workout, 7 minutes. Blood's pumping really good after it. Heart's pumping. And then once I was doing that for a while, I was like, wow, I'm starting to feel really solid. Like, these forces come to impose themselves on me, but I'm pretty centered. It's not all about being in shape physically. It is about the commitment to self. From that place is where we can serve as leaders. By every day opening the door to that pharmacy of adrenaline, dopamine, serotonin, all these things coursing through your body, these natural drugs that come from our interior pharmacy, those are how I feel we need to, from that place to start, to be able to serve in the way that we want in this new world, in this new age, this age of Aquarius that we're entering today.
Amazing.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So then the question then for anyone watching is, what's one thing that you can do every day to raise your vibration?
Exactly.
For you, it's a 7-minute workout. What I've committed to is I'm going to write every day.
Yes.
Before breakfast. That's where I am right now. At some point in the future, I'm going to make a commitment to get in the ocean every day.
Beautiful.
I'm not there yet.
And I'm committing to training. I'm committing to creating an injury-free body that can go to the places and the levels that I desire. And I have a movement specialist that I'm working with pretty closely, and we have worked together before and have almost got my body there. And then I had life happened, and so I've restarted the program with her, and the process that she uses is so powerful because it actually removes the injuries and the asymmetries. I've done a lot of yoga, Tai Chi. The list is endless, and they all help mitigate the damage. But this actually wipes the physical slate clean. And
Beautiful.
it's the most powerful thing I have ever experienced. And working with her, I've gone for my first pain-free runs. And I used to run in high school, and then I hated it after. And I didn't realize I hated it because of all of the compounding injuries in my body. I stopped enjoying running, and my love of running, my love of that primal list of movements came back, and I experienced the joy of running. And so I can only tell you Tim, how much I'm looking forward to being reintroduced again to that joy of running and experiencing my first 10K run in my life,
Amazing.
entering into middle age.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Will I see you at the Sun Run this year? If they have one?
Yeah, let's make that a thing.
Okay.
Let's make that a thing.
If not, we'll make our own.
Yeah.
And we end this call with a new adventure beginning.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
So great.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for having me on your show. Again, a real honor, and I just wish you and all of your listeners and followers just the most amazing solstice celebration today. Find some time to be with yourself and put out some prayers and intentions. It's time to enter this new age in a powerful way, balanced between dark and light.
Amazing.
Thank you for your grace and your wisdom and your acknowledgements, and really for the powerful work that you are doing in the world. You are an instrument of Spirit's love, and that is clear to anyone who comes into contact with you. So thank you.
And a source of inspiration and joy.
Beautiful. Torch of rock and roll. I got it right here.
So on that note, if people want to catch up with your music, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Sure. I mean, you can go to my website, torchofrockandroll.com, or just come and see me on social media. Tim Steinruck. I'm there, quite active on all levels of social media, and yeah, I look forward to connecting with you. Just reach out, and any way that I can serve anybody who is watching this broadcast, I am willing to do that, because I am in service of humanity. As an instrument of Spirit's love, that's what I do. And I'm passionate about it.
Amazing.
Thank you so much. Well, this has been the Adventure Effect Live with Tom and Curtis. Thank you so much, Tim Steinruck, for being such an amazing guest. Please do follow us, hit the like button, the subscribe, the share the video, do the thing, spread the love, enrich humanity. And we will see you again next time.
And God bless.